What's going on YouTube? I hope you guys had a good weekend. Thank you for checking back in with a TDH upload. As you guys can tell by the title, we're going to be doing some tubs on my S13 and then checking out the new turbo for the CA. But before I dive into that, let me do a little bit of shameless plugging real quick. Some of you guys have requested that we bring decals back to the channel. I know I had some merch, a couple of years ago, but I kind of, fell off of that, and that's totally my fault. So for those of you who want to support the channel and dive back into some merch, we've got a couple things going on. We redid our basic sticker. We've always had these guys, just the doghouse with our little website and the Instagram and the YouTube, but we just went ahead and just made a very simple sticker. This is our YouTube URL and just our the doghouse logo. So we've got that guy there, and then we went with this new style here. It's gonna be a little tough to see. Hopefully I can get some sunlight behind it, but that's what it looks like now. This is version 2. There's version 1. The graphic designer that I worked with, Ringruized Custom Graphics, he's been taking care of us for the past couple of years now here in Jacksonville. We just went through and did a couple things, sorted out a couple things, and I did a pre-order on these guys, and they sold like hotcakes. So if you guys ordered one of these stickers, I really appreciate that. That's awesome. I'll be getting all that stuff out in the mail, and then I ordered a ton more. So for those of you guys who want to grab one of those stickers, they are available. These are in stock. And then lastly, I have my S13. This is just kind of a feeler sticker. I don't really know if I'm going to sell many of them or if anyone's interested, but if I could get a couple pre-orders going on that guy, I can get that up on the website and sell a couple of those. That is my shameless plug. I've got a couple more designs that we've worked on and a couple more different logos. I'll put in some pictures real quick so you guys can see that. So those are the logos that we're kind of working on. A couple things that I want to bring in. If we can get decals going and moving and some of the small merchandise going, I can start investing into t-shirts, hats, hoodies, and I can really get some nice like printed vinyl t-shirts. That way they are quality, they look good, and they'll last you guys a while. So that's my shameless plug. Let me hush up and we'll dive into what we're doing today in this video. Okay, so we'll jump into my little turbocharger here that I picked up for the CA. This is a T04E T3 T4 hybrid rep. It's just a Chinese special, nothing too crazy. It will be an external gated turbo. It does not have the internal gated like I was originally planning to run. I'm running a .48 AR housing on the exhaust side, so hopefully with my tune and my 555s, she shouldn't have any issues spooling this guy. It's not too big of a exhaust housing here, so if we can get, to bring in some boost at a lower RPM and keep that power band, I'll be really happy. I heard lots of good things about this turbo for what it is, and honestly, I just wasn't sure if I was going to pull, the trigger on $600-700 turbo and then throw it on the car and end up having issues spooling it or, being super laggy and just of that sort. So this is my kind of first time diving into different turbos on the CA, and getting away from its stock form rather than running a T25, bottom mount, or a T25 28 hybrid that's still also a bottom mount. I wanted to go with that, race car look and such. So that is that guy. I picked her up for I think it was like $150 or $180, dirt cheap. Came with a warranty on Amazon, and we'll see how it does. It came with all its gaskets and all that good stuff, and we'll kind of dive into that a little bit later on once we start focusing on getting the CA prepped up and dropped in the car. I just wanted to show you guys that. On the other hand, here is the tub. This is on the passenger side that is in there, and it looking freaking fantastic. I'm super happy with the way it came out, and this is what we're going to be doing on the driver's side today, just kind of going through this. I wouldn't say in super detail because there's a ton of videos that show you how to do this, but I'm just going to give you guys the basic rundown on how I'm doing mine and what the game plan is. Now, for simplicity, I kept these large holes here. This is where the wiring harness passed through on both sides. The reason I did that was so that they kind of mirror each other and give it that uniformed look, so that way I have something to work off of. I can, make my back plate flush here. As you guys can see, this whole back plate sits all the way up. It's super flush back in there, all the way against the wall. I still need to tack weld it out. I haven't tacked back there much, but it is nice and tight back there. It's tight all along the edges here. The nice beauty plate is nice and tight along the back, the bottom side. I made a simple break right here. That's nothing crazy. The only reason why there's a couple tacks there is just to kind of hold that in place when I was tacking through here. It's a very simple, straightforward setup, so I will show you guys kind of everything in detail. When you guys are doing this, what I did was just pull my measurements from when I had this one marked up. So right here in the face at the seam is about 1 inch down, so I've got that guy marked. and then it's about 1.25 inches from the seam here down to the face of it. So I've got that marked just to give you my rough estimate. What I'm going to be doing is using the single trailer fender. As you guys can see, I've already cut this guy up, and I ordered this one off of Amazon. I got it used, just like my subframe bushings. The box was damaged, so they discount the product. So what I went ahead and did is order this guy, and it came with the backing plate. It was 32 inches by 9 inches by like 10 or something like that. I split the difference at the 32, pulled tape, marked my little mark there, used my square, made a straight line through it, and just cut all the way out. As far as the backing plate, I removed the backing plate first, split the difference, cut it in half, and when I went ahead and fit everything up, I just tacked it in there, and then I tacked it along the bottom, as you guys can see, and it's welded in the inside. Just tacked like that so I can do my body filler and my shaping and make it look pretty when we get to that point. So I'm hoping to get the car to primer or into paint. I want primer, if not this week, by the new year, and then hopefully next month we can get the car into paint, because if I can paint everything, then I can get the bay together, and then I can start really like digging into it. Also, one more thing before we dive into the work. I got a new door for the S13, a little rough to see there. But the old door had a terrible rust repair job that was right here. If you guys check back in the old upload, you can see it. But I'll show you anyways, because the door is laying right here. So it had this rust here, terrible, terrible patch job. The time that it would take me to dump money into that with consumables, I could have just bought the door, and that's exactly what I did. It was like a $20, $25 door, swapped the guts over, and bam, there we have it. So, got a door on the car, nice clean one. I already sanded it down. I got to knock off a few more areas and then knock off the pinstriping, and it can go in self-etching primer. And now lastly, guys, I'm sorry, don't hate me, I know I talk a lot, but got a wiring harness. I think I already showed you guys this, but I went through and started plugging up some plugs here on the column and underneath the dash, and then I started labeling some things, pulling off the plastic, and I'm going to start thinning that out. And we'll do the fuse box relocation here in the glove box. I'm going to move the one fuse box from the driver's side over to the passenger side, and just extend my headlight harness, my alternator harness, all the stuff that needs to come up here to the front of the engine bay for the actual sill lights and turn signals and stuff. That'll all be there, but the rest of it, it's going. I'm retaining my wiper, obviously, but anything that I don't need in the car, I'm going to just go ahead and thin out and get rid of, so I can make it super simple and make it, a street drift car. So that is that, guys. Let me shut up, because I know I talk so much. We'll dive into trimming out this fender, getting this guy marked out. I'll be using this round side, as you guys saw, on the passenger side. I like the round side because it just gives it that nice uniform look against the strut tower. So I've got to do my notching up here. I'll just do a rough little line and just slowly work my way and notch out the top of it. You don't want to cut off too much material and be SOL. You can always add material back with a welder, but it won't look as pretty. And measure not just twice, measure 4 times and then cut once. So all right, guys, let me shut up. Let's dive into it. Wanted to go ahead and update you guys. I have the top of the trailer fender here shaved up for it to fit the general shape of our strut tower here. Now I'm trying to mimic where you see that seam line there where I've done some stitch welding. I'm trying to get the edge of the fender to sit flush with that, just like this side is here. You see where the seam comes up and it kind of flows with that look. I know you won't really be able to see it when I grind down the welds and then do the body filler, but it's just for the simple fact of trying to make it as even as possible. I've got that trimmed up. What I'm going to go ahead and do is grab out my little die grinder here and grab some of these roll locks. These guys are the best things ever in the world. So if you guys are trying to clean up the bay and you're having a hard time with your flat wheel and your grinder and blah 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 blah, pick up just one of these cheap angle grinders from Harbor Freight, dude. They do the job. Oh, and they're pneumatic, so make sure you have air compressors. I run 2 cheap Harbor Freight ones in parallel. As you guys can see, I've got my feed tube here and then my actual 50-foot hose. So yep, I'm gonna go ahead and start stripping down the bay, cleaning all of this up, all along here, all down these edges, and then all on the inside along the frame rail, all in here. Just go ahead and do everything that I've already done on this side. Cleaning, 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 so that way you can have good, nice, awesome welds. You want to penetrate into the actual sheet metal of the car, and this helps with structural integrity, of the entire engine bay and the front half of the car. But you don't want any crappy, stupid welds, and So I'm gonna do that, and yeah, I'll check in with you guys in just a minute. Alrighty guys, so inconveniently enough, my damn die grinder somehow took a shit. It was like not even a week old, week and a half old. So I had to have that warrantied out. As you guys can see, the nighttime is upon us. So what I've gone ahead and done is just kind of sped up the process a little bit more. I have the plate down here that will be my lower beauty plate that will be covering up you know, the actual sheet metal of the car. And then I've got my fender here all notched out, tugged up, and sitting pretty even, exactly where I want it to be. Look right there along that line, kind of follows that body line, and over here it follows that nice line, and we've got about an inch or so, on this end. The same thing over here. It's about an inch, maybe just a little bit under, maybe 7/8 of an inch, you know, from the base of the fender to the seam. Same thing over here, kind of just like my rough positioning, my rough mock-up. And then right here in this section, it's about 1.25 inches. So same thing over there. Got everything kind of mocked up where I want it. I need to trim down the little archway some more. So what I did when I went ahead and made the passenger side, I actually traced this out. So you guys can see the black line there. That is from the other fender. So when I cut this one out and mocked everything up on this side, I simply just traced that one out onto the other one to give me the rough idea. Now I didn't cut it at that line, as you guys saw. I cut about, I don't know, maybe 1/4 inch, maybe a little bit more, maybe 3/8 of an inch above the line here, so that way I gave myself some room. I'm going to trim it down a little bit more, see how it fits inside the actual trailer fender or the tub, whatever you want to call it, and then I'll keep trimming off more and more. That way I don't end up with a major gap in between my beauty plate down here and the actual tub. So that is the game plan, guys. I'll just get the shaving that down, and then I'll check in with you guys when I get that all sorted. And also you guys can see it's all cleaned up in there. I went through, knocked down as much as I possibly could, and you see a little bit of the seam sealer. That stuff can be pretty tough. I soaked it down in a little bit of lacquer thinner and let, you know, a lot of that paint kind of ooze off, and then just chased it out with some 120 little, you know, paper discs, and then some of my Scotch-Brite discs. So really nice, really clean. I'll wipe it down one more time before I go tacking everything in with acetone, just to be safe, but that is the general idea behind it and the game plan.
Hey Dad.
Jeff is here live. Wow, that was beautiful. So yeah guys, there's that. Once I trim that down and fit that up, I have that in place. And then this sheet of steel right here, this is for the actual beauty plate that goes along the frame rail. You see this mark here, that's 17 inches from the end all the way up to that mark. What I did was just pull tape from the corner of my S13 here, right there with the you know, radiator slash headlight assembly meets up with the actual body of the car, from here to the point right at the front cross member. I don't want to, you know, interfere with these little drop-in bolts that hold the front subframe in, so I just stopped it right there, 17 inches, and then it comes up, and as you guys can see, it just makes a little L, and this gets blended into the rest of the strut tower, and then that will be the end of it. So doing the same thing there. When I cut off this little piece right here, I will go ahead and lay that in the car, mark where I'm going to be making my brake. And if you guys look closely on this one, this is actually bent. This isn't welded together. There's just a small little grinder slit in it, so that way I was able to bend it easier. I just used some 90-degree channel and then 2 vice grips and some clamps and just bent it off on my table. So I'm going to be doing the same thing there, and I'll just show you guys the general idea as I put everything together. So alright, let me shut up. Back to it. The cut has been made. This is what she looks like sitting in her corner there. The beauty plate will be resting on top of this plate. Well, excuse me, this plate will be resting on top of this beauty plate. They'll be just kind of joining up there at a nice, you know, 90-degree angle. And now I'm going to make my line across here, and then just do a small slit with the grinder and the cutoff wheel, and then I'll set up my little brake, show you guys how I do that, and we'll make the little bend there, and I'll slip that guy in, and yeah, you guys will kind of see like it almost together. That's about 75% of the way. The hardest part is cutting down your template for this guy here with cardboard. It can just be really finicky. I'll show you guys like what it looked like. This was the original outline that I have. I know it looks like craziness, but this is what I had kind of traced out for this side. So this guy kind of just sat up in here You guys can see that there. And it gave me my general shape. I did make this a two-piece. As you guys can see, there's a weld right here. It's welded here and then down here and then along the back. Just because it was really difficult for me to make this bend right into here and also like keep it flush against this wall and then keep it flush against the fender. That was the hardest part. It had a little bit of a gap. You guys can see some weld in there that I had to fill up a little bit, but you know, after everything's said and done, once the welds are ground down and the bay itself, filler's going over everything and that'll get shaped up. As far as it goes inside of the, you know, wheel well, I'm going to be trimming out the rest of this. I didn't know how much I wanted to keep when I was originally doing this. I mean, honestly, I wasn't even planning on doing tubs at first. You guys, if you remember, in the earlier videos, I had cut out the wheel well so I could clear the top mount with a small little T25, T28. But obviously, we've thrown that out the window and we're just going big boy stuff now. And yeah, now we're here. So I've learned, you know, a little bit of, you know, tricks and things that I should and shouldn't do. Like I definitely won't be cutting out anything prior. So you guys can see that little gap there. I won't be cutting out any of this stuff prior to doing my next tub if I ever tub anything else, but just because I cut off a little bit more than I needed to, you know, over here, and I wouldn't really have to do these beauty plates. I mean, I could just do them flush with the actual frame rail, but I cut down a little too far, so the whole point of the beauty plate is to actually meet up against the fender, the actual tub. This is the frame rail here, as you guys can see, my fingers touching it, and then this is my beauty plate and my tub, and you can see it's all stitch welded all along here, and then obviously it's stitch welded all on the inside. But yeah, just something that I've learned, and now I know for, you know, my next setup, I won't ever go chopping away and then be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do tubs now. So anyways, let me do my little slit neck, guys, set up my brake, and then we'll bend that out and I'll show you guys. Alrighty guys, so we're moving on here. Go ahead and show you guys what I'm doing with this magical piece of metal here. So I've got the tub in there, I have the backing plate tacked up all in there, and then I have my bottom plate. Went ahead and slid that across the bottom there, and then this is my quote-unquote beauty plate. So it'll be doing that type of thing there, kind of just making the frame rail look a lot better than it actually is. So this will slide into here. It'll sit down all the way to this corner here, and as you guys can see, I've marked out that black line. Now that black line goes all the way up to this corner right here. You guys can see it comes all the way up and it ends right here. So what I'm going to be doing is cutting out this section right here. Once that is cut out, I'm going to take my square, draw a line across here, and lightly skim it with the grinder. When I do that, that'll give me a break point. I will bend this downward, so when it sits in here like this, it'll be an L bracket that'll slip in. Once that slips in on its little bend, I'll trace out my little sliver here, my pie, and just like that side, doing a break on it rather than cutting it and welding it makes it look 10 times better as one unit. So then I can just go through and bop, 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 tack it up, and then take my you know, 80 grit or 120 on my whiz wheel and just knock that down. I went through and laid down some stitch welds. As you guys can see, there's some longer welds throughout on some sections here. Got it up there, right there, and I did it all along this back side. So I'm going to be doing the same thing over here once I get everything in place, but as of right now, this is just mock-up, lots and lots of tack it, hold it in place, trace it out, trim it, reposition it, etc, etc, etc. So I just wanted to bring you guys up to speed on that so you guys have a general idea of what I'm doing, and you know, I just don't want to leave you hanging on the video. So I'm going to get this guy cut out, and I'm going to do my little notch. I'll set up my little brake and to show you guys, so you guys have an idea of what the hell I'm talking about, and we'll make the bend in there, and then I'll go ahead and just plop everything in place, tack it up, tack everything up, trace out my lines, and then I'll pull everything back apart, cut out all my trace lines, then I'll set everything back in there, see how it all fits, and as long as it's minty and it's good and it's up at my lines, then I can do my final shaving, final shaping, and then weld it all up. So that is that, guys. Let me jump on this and at least try to get this taken care of tonight. If I can't do it tonight, we'll jump back on it first thing in the morning. I'm just hoping that I could at least, you know, have this squared away, so that way we can try to get this thing sanded down this week and then try to primer it this weekend after Christmas. That would be freaking awesome. If I can get this bay into primer, then it means I can really start prepping to get it, you know, cleaned up for base coat, and it's just on me then we're good to go. So yeah guys, all right, let me shut up, back to it. So this is what I'm regarding, just a little slit right here in the material. I'm gonna go ahead and set it up like this or like this, vice versa, either way. Take my little 90-degree angle iron here, set it up flush on the edge of my workbench, and make sure that the crease itself, where I've cut with the grinder, is flush right up against the lip of my table. Take my 2 clamps, clamp it on either end, and I'll just bend it right down. So let me show you guys real quick. But before I do that, let me make sure I have my orientation correct, and then I'll do my bending. I believe that I just gotta pull it down. I think that's how I have it set up. But yeah, 1 second. So this is what I'm regarding. Nothing crazy guys, just again, this little piece of angle iron, 2 clamps, and yeah, the plate's in there. So all I'm going to do is just take 2 little vice grips, hold them down on either end, and just go ahead and make my bend on this guy. So go ahead and give that a shot and see if I can find a place for you guys. There you guys have it, my little break there. Now we'll go ahead and plop her in place, and I'll show you guys what I do from there. Once you make your break and you do a little bit of trimming, it will slip right in, and it will be the most satisfying thing in the entire world. Let me tell you what guys. So here is my little stress cut that I put in with the grinder. As you guys can see, it's flushed up against the actual frame rail of the car. Tiny little gap there. Got a tack back here, tack along the bottom side, and as you tack, you can start pushing it against the actual frame rail a little bit more. So there is the basics of it, guys. Pull that out there. You guys can see the tub on this side there. Looking really good. And looking really good over here. So I'm super happy with the way this is coming out. The hardest part will be tomorrow morning. Actually, probably tomorrow afternoon. I've got a couple jobs that I got to knock out, and then once I get back to the house, I can tend to this, and we'll start trimming out that funny guy using our lovely cardboard template. Good old cardboard CAD right here, boys. Cardboard CAD. I'm sure I'm going to be able to somewhat mirror it. I'm sure it'll be like relatively close. I don't think it'll be right on, but yeah, see, there it goes. Got the little dip in there for the corner of the fender. Fix my focus. Yeah, so it'll be relatively the same there. Might just have to do a little more trimming on my bottom end, so I don't have that funky issue like I did over here with a little bit of a gap in between my 2 pieces. But oh well, you live and you learn. These are my first set of tubs, legitimately, like my first set. It's been a nice little learning curve. It's not hard at all, just very tedious. Take your time, measure 4 times, cut once. Cut below your mark lines, you know, lots of fitting, tacking, just playing those good games. But this video is getting really lengthy. I'm probably just going to go ahead and call this a part 1, and then my next upload will be a part 2 continuation of this video, and then we'll obviously dive into the bay, sanding that up. I picked up some 220 so I can go ahead and start knocking down this self-etching primer, and we can go ahead and lay this pour 15, because I've said this like 400 times and it just needs to happen already. So that is about that. Alright guys, let me hush it up, clean up this garage, go take a shower, and call it a night. I will see you guys bright and early tomorrow morning. Thank you. Later.